Welcome to the SNN.Network Summer Virtual Events. We are pleased to introduce the next presenter for today's event, Paige Tucker, President and CEO of ProStar Holdings. Paige, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. As mentioned, my name is Paige Tucker. I'm the CEO and founder of ProStar, which is a cloud and mobile technology company. Our flagship product is called PointMan, and it is a precision mapping solution. I have next here just our forward-looking statements, which I'm required to show, and also the confidential information. So our solution is, I mentioned, PointMan, and it is a patented solution that is designed to capture, record, and display the precise location of critical infrastructure, including buried utilities and pipelines. We have several marquee clients in multiple verticals, including Fortune 500 companies, government agencies, and some of the largest subsurface utility engineering firms in North America. I also have a veteran management team with extensive software, cloud, and mobile and capital markets experience. I have over 25 years in development of innovative technologies. My core focus has always been in data management and geographic information systems, which is a big fancy word for digital mapping. Our Chief Operating Officer is Vasa Dasan, who for 15 years was the Chief Technology Officer for Sun Microsystems, which at one point was the largest technology company in the world. They were acquired by Oracle. Jonathan Richards is our CFO. Jonathan has extensive experience serving as CFO for several TSX and TSX-V listed companies. And Carl Lashwa is our Vice President. He's the former Chief Information Officer of HSB Canada, as well as Europe. Our focus is critical infrastructure and all of the vertical markets that are involved in either owning, constructing, managing, or maintaining critical infrastructure, and again, which includes surface and subsurface infrastructure. Somewhat unprecedented for an early stage startup technology company to have any patents that are issued, but we have a very extensive IP portfolio, and we actually have 20 patents that have been issued in North America. Talking about infrastructure, to put things into perspective, there's 2.4 million miles of paved roads in the United States, and as we know, that infrastructure is becoming dilapidated and in serious need of repair and replacement. In fact, the White House, as we know, is in the, I would say, late stages of passing the infrastructure bill, which is about $1 trillion, of which about $500 billion is actually earmarked for critical infrastructure, including roads, bridges, highways, railway systems, as well as subsurface infrastructure, including our drinking water systems, sewage systems, as well as broadband. I apologize for the delays here. This is what it looks like if I remove the pavement in any metropolitan area. This is an example in New York City. It is a spaghetti bowl of utilities and pipelines that have been haphazardly placed into the ground over a 100-year period. And if we think that our roads, bridges, highway, and railway systems are becoming dilapidated and in serious need of repair and replacement, it pales in comparison to what's happening below the surface of the earth. This infrastructure is in serious need of repair and replacement as well. In fact, there's over 35 million miles of buried utilities and pipelines buried below the surface of the earth. 500,000 times a year, those utilities and pipelines are hit during construction, and it's estimated that there's $10 billion a year spent trying to identify where those utilities and pipelines are buried before any construction commences, and yet there's $30 billion estimated that are damages that occur every year. So whatever we're doing, I would argue it's not very effective. Part of the problem is that the way that we map and identify where the utilities and pipelines are actually on paper maps called as-builts. And this is an example where they're just sketches, and they're based on how the utilities and pipelines are intended to go in the ground, but how they go into the ground is actually a completely different scenario. It's required by law in every state that we have to go out and locate where these utilities are before any type of construction can begin. Every state has what's called a one-call center. You have to call into the center and identify the location where you're going to be doing construction. And what they do is they send out these workers that use what's called an electromagnetic locate device that can actually locate where the utilities and pipelines are. The problem is these workers have very little training, very little certification, and the way that they mark where the utilities are is using a paint can to mark where they are. The challenge with that is that, number one, there's human error involved, and we know that the variance is at least a meter. In addition to that, we don't know which utility line they located, if they located the correct utility line that they're marking, or if they located a utility line at all. In fact, the construction companies and the engineering firms that take on all the liability, they don't trust those markings at all. So what they do is they actually bring out what's called the hydrovac truck, and this is what it looks like. And they'll drill a hole in the pavement where the marking is. They'll suck all the dirt out through that giant vacuum system, and they'll do that until they can actually expose where the utilities are. This is a very onerous process, very expensive, damages the pavement, and really it doesn't really even work that well. What they'll do is they'll move that big vacuum truck over until they can drill the hole in the ground and identify exactly where the lines are. It's called daylighting. They actually have to expose where the line is. The next image I'm going to show you is an example of when you drill a hole in the ground, exactly how many utilities can be in the ground in a very small confined area. As you can see, it's becoming overly crowded and congested. You can see how many utilities are stacked up beside each other and also on top of each other. In addition to that, here's the workflow process. You mark where the utilities are, either using the paint or drilling the hole in the ground. Then you send surveyors out there to survey in the paint marks or the hole in the ground. Then you upload the data onto a PC. Someone out in the field has to qualify that data. Then they export it back to the office where they upload it into either a computer-aided design system or a GIS system. The data is qualified, and then it's finally sent out to the field, where the field crews can utilize that information to make intelligent business decisions. At best, this takes 2 days. On average, it can take 2 weeks. Sometimes it can take up to 2 months. So there's got to be a better way of doing this. That's why we developed PointMan, a simple mobile app that's a mobile and cloud solution, and it works on any standard mobile device, including a tablet or phone that you can buy at Best Buy or Horizon. So what makes our solution so effective? Well, number one, what we do is we take the utility locate device, and then we pair it, as I mentioned, to a standard mobile device. Let's see if I can go to my next animation here. There we go. And then utilizing Bluetooth, because we're not using the GPS that's embedded into the phone, because that's accurate to 1 to 3 meters, we actually Bluetooth that to a precision GPS receiver that will provide centimeter accuracy. Once the data is captured out into the field, it goes up to our cloud running on AWS in real time. We run it through all of our post-processing and our algorithms, and we make that information available in real time. So basically, we eliminate all of those arduous post-processing procedures that are currently part of the workflow process today. The image I'm showing you here basically demonstrates how we're capturing the information digitally on a mobile phone. So on the left-hand side is the electromagnetic locate device. While they're locating where the utilities and pipelines are, instead of putting a paint mark on the ground, we're actually digitally recording the precise location of where the utilities or pipelines are buried in the ground. And then we're grabbing very important metadata that provides the confidence level of where exactly that utility is buried and what type of utility it is. So you can see where it says pedigree. We're capturing what type of locate device was used, what's the depth, what's the currency. We can say here it says vertical precision, which is 1.3 centimeters. We capture how many satellites are in view, which constellation. So if you want to do a drill down on the metadata to identify exactly where we're getting this data and what type of data it is, then you can drill down as far as you want in order to provide the confidence level. So when we say that's where that utility is buried, and based on the information we're providing, you know exactly where it is. The other thing that we can do is we can stream the current data in from their system of record of where their current records show where the utility is buried, and then you can see through validation and verification of exactly where that line is. And then we can also measure what the discrepancy is. You can see here it's 103 feet. Based on the actual location of where that utility is, if the utility owner or the construction company or the engineering company wants to consume this information that we provide, they can do that at a click of a button, and it will seamlessly download into their system of record. So there's tremendous ROI for the utilities to utilize our solution because they're asset-centric, and if they don't know where their assets are actually located, they have a hard time managing them. What we're doing is we're actually verifying and validating exactly where the utilities are buried, and then they can consume that information into their system of record. So our process is actually fairly easy, where you just capture the data, it goes up to the cloud in real time, and then it's available out on the mobile devices out in the field or on the computers in the office, so again, they can make more intelligent business decisions. A couple of years ago, when we finished developing the system, we wanted to go out and get what I would consider to be early adopters that are major influencers in the market. One of the clients that we showed our solution to was Kiewit. They're the largest infrastructure construction company in North America, Fortune 500, and they said, yes, we would test the solution. They put us on a $2 billion project, which is the expansion of I-70 through Denver, and after 1 year, proving our return on investment and the effectiveness in creating more efficient workflow processes and improving their business practices, which have been well entrenched in the industry for 25 years, they adopted our solution, and then they put us into several other verticals that include water, power, and also the construction of light rail. And we are now in discussions with them about making this an enterprise solution where it just goes out onto every single project, and I hope to be able to announce that over the next 30 or 60 days. Because it was the expansion of I-70 through Denver, we then presented to CDOT, the Colorado Department of Transportation, and asked them if they would also test it, and they said yes. And I'm happy to say that moving fast forward 2 years, that on January 14th of this year, Colorado Department of Transportation mandated our software in the state of Colorado. So every utility, municipality, engineering company, construction company is required by law to use our software. And what that's done is it forces people to use it, but once they use it and they realize that it can improve the business practices and workflow processes of their own business, then we're starting to see adoption by companies that are not only working in Colorado but have national and international presence. One of those companies was KCI, one of the largest engineering and surveying firms in the United States. They served CDOT and also provided services to Kiewit. They adopted our solution. They were one of the hardest sells because as an engineering company, they did not believe that we could provide centimeter accuracy in real time on a standard mobile device and replace business practices that have been well entrenched, as I mentioned, for over 25 years. But then as a result, you can see we also brought on WSB, one of the largest engineering surveying companies in the United States. Kramer came on board. They're another large infrastructure construction company with operations throughout the United States. And I'm happy to say that we just announced a couple weeks ago that we brought on our first municipality. What I'm excited about that is there's 30,000 municipalities in the United States that have a population of under 10,000. The majority of them don't even have a system of record. They're managing their data utilizing paper. And we have not only an effective, low-cost solution, but we can prove that it's easy to use. We can have them trained in less than a day. So I think we're going to see a significant amount of adoption in the municipal market, which is a tremendous opportunity for us, and in fact, we're in discussions with several other municipalities as we speak. We're also getting ready to announce that we've just completed a successful pilot with T2. They're one of the largest engineering surveying firms in Canada. HDR, which is ranked number 6 by ENR Engineering Record. We're getting ready to announce that we've just brought on HDR, and I'll soon announce that we just brought on Zayo, which is one of the largest fiber optic companies in North America, so that'll be our first utility that's actually adopted. So we're starting to see, if you will, that trajectory or influx where we're starting to see adoption in the market utilizing our software, which is disruptive by some major companies that I would consider to be influencers. The way that we market and sell our product is basically in 3 different platforms. Number 1, it's free. You can download it on the Apple Store and Google Play. It works anywhere in the world, but you're limited to the GPS chip that's in the device, which I mentioned, is only accurate to 1 to 3 meters, but it allows people to become accustomed and acclimated to our software, and they can go out and test it, as I mentioned, anywhere in the world. We sell another version called PointMan Plus, which is only $295 a year. That one will Bluetooth to a precision GPS receiver and get you down to centimeter accuracy. If you want the ability to have the cloud and all of the post-processing and unlimited storage and also have enterprise capability, then we sell what we call PointMan Pro for $2,495 a year. This is what our major clients are utilizing. On average, we have about 25 apps that are used by most clients, but obviously companies like Kiewit or agencies like CDOT need several hundred. In fact, Kiewit, if they get fully operational enterprise-wide, would be using several thousand of these applications. July of last year, we partnered with Trimble. They're the largest geospatial technology company in the world. They have a $20 billion market cap on NASDAQ. They're also the leader in the manufacturing of surveying and GPS and GNSS equipment. Through our partnership, they allowed us to have the highest level of integration than any other company into their GPS and GNSS receivers. Not only does that provide a tremendous amount of visibility and credibility for us, but being the leader in the provider of surveying equipment, it allows us to go to the clients that are utilizing Trimble equipment and talk to them about utilizing our software and how it improves the performance and enhances the accuracy of the Trimble equipment. And being the leader, then it's just much easier to work with them because they don't have to change anything that they're currently utilizing. Several other leading manufacturers in the world send us their equipment, including the top GPS manufacturing companies. For example, Emlet is manufactured in Russia. Juniper is another leading manufacturer that develops their systems here in the United States, but also the leading electromagnetic locate tool devices, including Bivix, Metrotech, radio detection, and Subsite. Why do they send us their equipment? Because we improve the performance of their equipment, and our user interface is very intuitive and easy to use for their clients. And so as a result of that, it makes sense for them to partner with us. As far as our annual recurring revenue, we're estimating that we're going to do a little over $2 million this year. We did $1.5 million last year. And then I think we're going to start, as I mentioned, to see that ramp up based on the fact that even though we are a disruptive technology and what we're introducing is new to the market, we're starting to see that adoption by the leading companies that are also influencers in the market. Our pipeline is growing. So I think that over the next several years, we can see 100% year-over-year growth. In fact, that trajectory might even grow greater because I'm basing this just on penetrating the market in the United States. Now we're starting to see adoption in Canada. I'm working with one of the largest data collection companies in Australia right now, as well as the UK. So if we start to see adoption globally, which I expect we will, then these numbers could ramp up significantly faster than what I'm demonstrating here. Our cap chart, we have 91 million shares outstanding right now, 117 when we're fully diluted. We just went public on January 11th of this year. We opened up at 40 cents. Currently, we're trading at around, I think today, 48 or 47 cents, somewhere in that area. Obviously, I'm biased. I think that there's tremendous value in our share price based on where we are today and based on what I think we're going to see as far as execution this year and then going into next year, especially with the infrastructure bill that I'm pretty confident is going to be passed, because we're in the infrastructure business. That money will trickle down from the federal government down to the state DOTs and down to the municipalities. So it's basically going to significantly enhance the amount of business of what we call shovel-ready projects and all of the companies that are involved in either owning or servicing the infrastructure. So I think it's going to be obviously great for the industry, and it's going to last for several years because it's a lot of money. I'm going to leave it on this slide here. You can see that we trade on the OTC, we also trade on the TSX-V, and we also trade on the Frankfurt Exchange. But that concludes my presentation, and what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go into the Q&A and see if anybody has any questions, and I'd be more than happy to answer them. I got 3 questions here, and I'm trying to open them up. Is there an operator online that can tell me how I open up the questions? No?
Just one moment. Yes, Mr. Tucker. Jasmine, are you there?
I see I have 3 questions, but I don't see how I open up the questions.
You should be able to click on that question and answer tab, and you might also try refreshing at the top.
Right.
Yep, I don't see how I open up these questions. Unless I go next. Oh, here we go. All I had to do is hit next. I apologize. How will the passing of the infrastructure affect the company's future growth plans? Well, number one, anytime you have as much as $500 billion that will be earmarked for the repair or replacement of critical infrastructure that includes roads, bridges, highways, railway systems, also our sewer systems and our drinking water systems, that will impact our business significantly, because that is specifically the market that we are focused on. So where that business is going to trickle down to is the large construction companies, engineering and surveying firms, obviously the companies that have to go out and locate where everything is, and the excavating companies. And the fact that we can provide precisely where infrastructure is and do that on mobile devices, which improves not only the workflow processes but the business practices, it also creates a safer working environment. So it's going to impact us significantly. Next question. You have a strong partnership with Trimble. 2 weeks ago, they announced that they have launched a $200 million fund to invest in early-stage companies. Is that also possible they could invest in ProStar? Yes, and I have a working relationship with Trimble. What I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for a couple major events to occur which would make sense for us. One of them, the infrastructure bill to be passed, and also the announcement of our enterprise deal with Kiewit. Then I plan to approach Trimble and see if they would be interested in partnering and investing in ProStar, because it makes sense because of the working relationship that we have. I need to shorten my screen down here a little bit. How are the talks with new DOTs that may be required to use PointMan? International marketplaces like Australia and the UK you have been in discussion with. Yes, we're in discussion with several other DOTs. Colorado is the first state to mandate the law to utilize a technology like ProStar's to identify precisely where the utilities and pipelines are buried in the ground. It's called subsurface utility engineering business practices, and they actually wrote it into law. Now other states are looking to do the same thing, and we're in discussion with several of those states. So I think what Colorado done is basically kind of set the benchmark for other companies, other agencies to take a look at what we're doing here in Colorado, as well as that, other countries as well. And yes, we are now looking to expand into Australia, Europe, As I mentioned, I'm in discussions with companies and working with them. We're actually conducting a pilot right now in Australia because what we're doing, I would say that most companies just don't believe that we can get centimeter accuracy on a standard mobile device and make that information available in real time. So even though we've proven we can do it in the United States, we got companies that say, yeah, but can you do it in Canada? And then we've got companies that say, yeah, can you do it in Australia? Yes, we've created the algorithms and the post-processing to be able to do it anywhere in the world. In fact, we're running on AWS. We work in every country, every language, and any currency, and we plan on expanding into those markets that are mentioned here. And those are the 3 questions that I have. Oh, I got a 4th here. Let's wait. I got more coming up now. See if I have another one. Yes, this will be my last one, and then I should probably conclude unless there's more coming in. Can using PointMan reduce risk and therefore reduce insurance costs? Yes. In fact, it's a very big liability and risk factor for the large construction companies not knowing where the utilities and pipelines are buried. And it's not uncommon for them to hit many of them during construction. For example, on the I-70 expansion through Denver, what Kiewit told us is they had another project that they were doing that was very close to the I-70, and they had over 187 strikes on utilities over a 1-year period. And using PointMan on the I-70, they only had 3 strikes over a 1-year period. None of them could they associate to PointMan. So in fact, they were saying we had no strikes. And if you hit a pipeline, obviously you're going to have petroleum products that could leak into our water systems and into our rivers and into our oceans. That's a major problem. If you hit a gas line, you can have an explosion, and it happens far too often every year. Not only is it a public risk as far as being injured or the worker, I would argue there's far too many deaths as a result of that. You can also, if you hit a fiber optic line, say one by AT&T, they can be fined up to $1 million an hour. So the fact that we reduce the risk and the liabilities is a huge cost as far as insurance, and Kiewit actually self-insures. So that's one of the motivating factors of why they're utilizing our software and getting ready to push it out enterprise-wide. I have one more question I can take here. Do you have any competitors, if any, in this space? The good news is, even though we're the pioneer in this space, and we've proven that by our patents, we're starting to see competition enter into the space, which is a good thing, because I don't think you necessarily want to be the lone soldier. It tells us that the market is beginning to grow and expand, and also the market is becoming more accepting of new technologies. Does anyone else develop a system that can get centimeter accuracy running on a standard mobile device and offer that on the cloud? The answer to that is, I don't know of any others. That's why we're starting to partner with other companies, and we're also partnering with the leading manufacturers of equipment. Also, ours is so much lower in price than what our competition offers. So the answer to that question is there is competition out there, but I don't know of anyone else that offers what we offer, especially the precision, which is centimeter accuracy, which I'm still trying to convince many companies that we can actually get down to the centimeter, because they just don't believe it. And I have a couple more questions coming in here, and I'll make sure that I close on time. What are the biggest advantages on PointMan when you compare with your competition? Number one, we are very, very inexpensive. I don't think anybody can offer what we offer at the price we offer. Other systems can take anywhere between 4 to 6 years to learn how to operate. You can learn how to operate ours. It's very intuitive in a matter of hours. And you can also grow into the system. So you can start with 1 app, go up to 2, go up to 3, go up to 4. So it's not a major commitment. And the last question, what work are you doing that will raise the awareness of the public and policymakers to the benefits of PointMan? Well, we're working with government agencies, including not only at the state level, but also at the federal level, where we're demonstrating to them, and in many ways we're teaching them what our system is capable of doing, and why it addresses both public and environmental safety concerns. And I think at some point we'll start to see more states that mandate it, and we might even see the federal government at some point mandate it. The last thing I want to say is that we're also going to be on PBS late in the fall because most people aren't aware of this problem that's lurking below the earth, and right now there's big focus on the surface infrastructure. We also need to focus on the subsurface infrastructure, and we'll be broadcasted into 84 million homes in 54 countries. So I think the public and the government is going to become very aware of this issue and how we can address it with PointMan. And I'm going to conclude my meeting at this point in time. We're out of time, and I want to thank everybody, and please feel free to reach out to me if you have any more questions or if I can do a one-on-one with you. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the ProStar Holdings presentation. Thank you for joining us. You may now disconnect.